Okay, so what we'll cover in the presentation, I'll give an introduction on what you need to be aware of and all the things you need to know before you start applying for college, which includes alternative options as well. And then I'll also cover everything in the application, specifically the important documents that colleges will look at and use for your admissions decision, and then other factors too. Then we'll go over how money plays a role in applying and how college in general, and then the type of financial aid you can get from it. And then finally, I'll summarize and talk about other helpful resources you can use and take advantage of when you're in high school, while you're applying, and even after you decide where you're going the following August. First, we'll do an activity and we'll do one before every section just for engagement. So the first one is agree or disagree. I'll read some statements and then you can just choose if you agree or disagree. Then I'll call on a couple people, or if anybody wants to share their opinions. So you can, there's a link here that you guys can type, and then it'll also be on the top of the next screen, but I'll give you guys a second to type it in. And then this link will also be on each slide for the activity in case like you exit out the page or something. So when you're ready, you can just answer the first one. So I'm ready to start college. And then this is also for the ambassadors and Rita. Is anyone admitting the people who are in the waiting room?
I think that you might need to designate a co-host. I was just thinking of that too. So if somebody wants to be a co-host, they should be able to admit folks to the waiting room.
I can do that.
For the new people who just joined, there's an activity. If you want to type the link in at the top, the one that says pollev.com, my name 573, and then you can just answer the question or like choose agree or disagree for the statement. Is everybody able to access it?
Kara, I was able to get there, but it's not.
It's giving me
It's giving me what do you want to
a
study?
different question.
Yeah.
A series?
Yeah.
Oh,
It asked me what I want, like, what do you want to study in college?
the results are not. How convenient. Okay then.
Also, for people asking in the chat, the link is posted in the chat.
So are like people answering? Okay, then, well, it's supposed to show up on here. Not. Does anyone want to say why they agree or disagree on why they're ready to start college?
And you can send it in the chat too, because we have a couple of people that are monitoring the chat that can bring that up. So.
Well, I am already a college student, but when I was getting ready to start college, I felt like I was not ready. So yeah, I've since felt a lot more comfortable with the college experience, and I feel more ready than ever. But in the beginning, I wasn't. We also have someone in the chat. Michaela says that she's ready to start college because she wants to get a jump start for her career.
Anybody else, or I can just move on to the next question if nobody else wants to.
I have a
share.
private chat. I have a private chat that says disagree.
Oh, why did they disagree? Did they explain why? Or
No, they didn't explain why. I know that like I'm about to start college, and I know that for me, I'm like somewhere in the middle, because like I feel like I've been prepared and I've done what I can to be prepared for college, and I feel like in that sense I'm ready for college. But at the same time, I know that I can never be like fully prepared. So in that way, like I would disagree that I'm ready to start college because like I don't think that I'm necessarily completely ready. So.
I'm also about to start college. I didn't feel ready until I like watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos and I went to orientation and made some friends. Then I felt more ready for college. But like Miriam was saying, I don't think you can ever feel fully ready until you experience it. But I do feel more comfortable, I guess, with going rather than uncomfortable.
next statement is college is important. And just to know, did the question change on your guys' screen if you're still on the thing? Because if not, then we can just share out loud.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to
I have a different question.
Okay, then we'll just share out loud. It's really cool that it decided not to work the day of. Oh, but anyways, college is important, agree or disagree? Agree.
I'm in the middle because I feel like college is for some people and then college isn't for some people because sometimes more people learn from their experiences. Now, I do feel like no matter what you do need to have the concrete information. That way you could be more knowledgeable about whatever you're doing. But that goes with many different ways. Like a training could maybe help with that or something. Not always college.
Anyone else?
I agree that college is important based off your major and what you want to do with your life. Because my major is design and tech and minoring in accounting, and I wouldn't be able to be in that workforce unless I went to college.
Does anyone disagree?
We have somebody in the chat that said disagree for me personally. And then we have a lot of agrees in the chat.
Well, then we'll move on to the next one. I'm currently feeling a lot of pressure / tension on picking the right college or just going to college in general.
I can really say I agree with this because for a while I was really picking between like two different schools and it was like my top choice. I'm like, okay, do I just pick it out of a hat? Kind of, it was both my two top schools, which was Clark Atlanta and then Jackson State. And so kind of like once I figured out, okay, I am gonna go to this school, it did become a little challenging, maybe within the financial aspect, then also just knowing, say, okay, we're going here. Now that you got accepted, there's a lot more to be required and a lot more stuff that you have to do. So it do feel like a lot, but since I'm almost at the time where you're going to orientation, most of the paperwork is finished. It is kind of like, okay, some of the pressure is relieved. Now it's time to just actually start school. So, yeah.
Does anyone disagree?
I will say for me personally, when I initially only had about 2 or 3 colleges picked out. It was hard trying to pick which one would be financially or best financially for me. So that was stressful.
Cost is the first thing that comes to mind when I think of college.
Well, for me personally, when I started school, cost wasn't the first thing that came to mind because of the fact that I thought of it as an investment. Um, but for other people, it makes sense that money might be a big concern. But I think that depending on what you want for yourself, um, it's the way that you have to look at it. So, for some people, they see it as a cost. For others, they see it as an investment in the future.
Does
Um,
anyone disagree? Oh, sorry. Whoever's
I
about
was-
to talk.
I think
oh, sorry.
I think when you're like a freshman, you really don't think about the cost, but when you're like a senior or a sophomore, then you think about the cost. And if the college, have the field you want to study in. So yeah.
For me, it was location because I just really wanted to leave and stay.
Going to college has more pros than cons. Agree or disagree?
For me, I believe it has like a lot more pros because it gives you a lot more exposure. You're able to build more relationships and also kind of like I said before, you gain more knowledge on whatever you're doing.
I would say you just like need a degree and you pretty much can do whatever you want because like if you're in IT, you just need a degree and then you can pick up the in-demand skills on your own.
Does anyone disagree? And even if you don't, what would be a con or like what would be a major con that would outweigh the pros for going to college?
I think my major pro was going to college. Is that I went to a school where a lot of people didn't look like me, and I started to sink in that I was not in a environment where I grew up in, so it was harder for me to adapt and change and be in that. So that was a major con. Like I almost transferred schools because of that.
Yeah, I know diversity is like a really big factor to students when they're going to a school. Thank you for sharing. I'd rather get a bachelor's degree than a certificate or license. And the difference between the two is that one is 4-year education and the other one is like around 2 years.
I would probably say like the cost because 4 years they usually cost a lot of money than 2 years for a certificate.
So you rather get the certificate?
I mean, I'd rather get the degree.
Yeah, I think it is another situation on it depending on what you particularly want. If you were, somebody that wanted to become a plumber, you would probably go and get a certificate or a license. But if you were attempting to get you know, a white collar job somewhere, you might get a bachelor's degree. But I would say, looking at the trends of the United States when it comes to employment as of right now, it's getting more and more difficult to get places without a 4-year degree. but there are still like in demand, in places of employment that require just a license or a certificate.
Oh, did anyone wanted something else to share with this? Or was that all?
And for me personally, I'm going into nursing, so while I could get an associate's degree, which would only be 2 years, and still become a registered nurse, a lot of times colleges do prefer that you get your bachelor's in nursing. Or a lot of time hospitals would prefer that you get your bachelor's in nursing. So I think that it's really kind of up to you for some things, like that. Like you could just do an associate's if you needed a cheaper option, but then, the hospital may want you to then work towards getting your bachelor's. And stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, for different things, different options are more appropriate.
I know many people going to the college I'm going to / want to go to.
For me at least, I didn't know anyone until like I went to orientation that was going to my college besides family. And I think there's only 2 family members because it was out of state and I don't know anyone in Georgia.
Yeah, that was the same for me. I go to school in Ohio, and I'm pretty sure I was the only one in my senior class to like go to the school I'm going to now. So
Yeah, same for me. My graduating class was relatively small, and I was the only person going to the school that I'm going to. So I think that like a lot of people that I know are going to college, but not a lot of people are going to like I didn't start to meet people that were going there until like I was doing housing or until I was doing the orientation and stuff like that. So
and probably because of time, this might be the last one. Sorry guys, because I have to skip through the rest. But I want to stay in the same town, city, and or state when I do go to college. For me, it's disagree because I'm going to school in Ohio. So
For me, it was disagree because I'm going to school in Georgia.
Where,
like nothing to
if
do
you
on
don't
this
mind
one,
me asking, where are you going to school in Georgia?
I'm going to Georgia State, so I'll be in downtown Atlanta.
Okay, and I'm going to Clark, Atlanta, so I may see you around.
for me, this was an agree. I was only looking at colleges that were at least around the area. So I did look at like SIUE, but that's like half an hour away. So it was basically in the same city, whereas some of the other ones that I was looking at were like a few hours away, but still in Missouri. So yeah, so agree. And there's some agrees and disagrees in the chat.
for people
Downtown
who
and
said disagree, is it because Missouri is boring, or you don't want to be near your family, or you just want to like experience college in a different city? Because those are all the reasons why I went out of state for school.
I would say I decided to go out of state because I really want to go to a HBCU. The only HBCU that is in St. Louis specifically is Harris Stowe. I didn't want to go to Lincoln because I wanted to go to a school kind of like that was in a city demographic and not like, okay, there's nothing around the school to do. And then I also wanted to just fly, spread my wings and fly. I wanted to go adventure what was out in the world. So, and that started with kind of being able to get out the everything look like St. Louis mindset. And so being able to adventure someone else's city and dive into it.
I agree. I had the same mindset.
Okay, well, we'll begin presenting, but there's like more activities we'll do. Hopefully the thing works, but if not, we'll just continue to share out loud. So if you're here, you either graduated back in May, you're about to graduate this year or next year, or you're just trying to be ahead of the decision-making steps when it comes to college. And just out of curiosity, is there any juniors or seniors on here? And when I mean seniors, I mean about to be seniors, not graduated seniors.
Hmm. We got Darlene says she's about to be a senior. AJ says he's not a senior. Aaliyah says she is a sophomore in college. Oh yeah.
Maybe everybody that's going to be a junior or senior this year in high school, maybe you could raise your hand or do a reaction or something.
I was just asking because like if you're already going to college, then you probably went through all of this stuff, but it's not bad or anything to relearn it again or something, but experience. So choosing to go to college is a significant decision in your life. You either believe that attending college is not only the best way to achieve them, but it's also the ideal first step into the real world, or you feel the opposite and you're completely unsure. If you are unsure, or you do feel like it's a good choice, college is only one option out of many. And so below, I listed some other alternative options to college. So the first one is vocational education or trade school. And basically what it is, it's a different post-secondary education option that trains and educates students for employment that is generally non-academic. It's dedicated to a specific occupation and the manual or practical tasks that go with that occupation. So for example, if you want to be a plumber or something, you wouldn't have to go to like a four-year college to get a degree. You could go to trade school and just learn all the skills a plumber would need to be a plumber. So if you do go to vocational education or trade schools, you wouldn't need a whole degree. You would just need a certificate or license that goes over the detailed training of your career. Going to this type of school is more affordable and it's good for entry-level jobs in case you don't want to get a job that requires you to have like a bachelor's or a master's or something. It's also another way to get dual credits for your classes. You can get some of your GE classes out of the way that you won't have to take in college when you do transfer them over to your four-year university. The second option is employment development. Obviously, if you're on this Zoom, you're part of STL youth jobs, and that is an example of employment development. There's also things like the internship program. I don't know if many of you have heard of SLIT, that's St. Louis Internship Program. They also kind of work with STL youth jobs. There's apprenticeship programs where you're basically just shadowing a career or observing someone doing a specific occupation or task. The third option is that you can start a business. When you do so, you can control your lifestyle and the schedule. There are programs that support students who want to do their own business, and then they'll provide them resources to expand or even start off small. You can also freelance work, which is just being self-employed and then charging consumers for your services and work. This can help you earn money on things that you enjoy to do. So if you like to, I don't know, do nails and stuff, you can freelance work and charge people for nail services or whatever. It's kind of like a full-time side hustle. The fourth option is military. It has many benefits. They provide healthcare, housing, cash allowances. They actually can give you money for college, so that you can join the military and also go to school to get a degree. And they also have benefits for family services, but it's a huge commitment because you're literally fighting for the country, but it's still an option to consider. And then the final option is just to explore other careers further, or you can take a gap year. When you take a gap year, you're taking a break from your education before you start up post-secondary education. And there are programs to support students who go on the gap year, and I have resources about that at the end of the presentation. So when you're getting ready to apply, it's not going to be a simple process where you can fill out the application in one sitting. You will need a lot of documents that probably aren't going to be easy to get the first time. So having a good idea of what you will need can make the process a little smoother. Excuse me. So you'll need a, So you'll need a professional email, documents regarding your income and financials. You'll need your college essay, which is also called a personal statement. You'll need some recommendation letters, your transcript, test scores, and your FAFSA application. And your standardized test scores, those are your ACT, SAT, AB, IB, AP, whatever type of scores you get from national exams. However, ever since the pandemic situation, a lot of schools decided to go test optional. And I'll talk about this on the later slide, what that means. But because of the test optional option, you wouldn't necessarily need to have your test scores. So like I mentioned, the college application process isn't going to be done in one sitting. Overall, it takes 5 to 8 months. So this would be your general timeline for what your senior year would look like. In October, you should start researching colleges that you're interested in and wanting to go to. Make sure that these colleges really fit the factors you would want at a college. For example, if you want to go to a college that's in a small town or a big town, if the diversity percentage is high, if they have nice dorms, the city life sports, all of that. College applications will start to open as well as the FAFSA. So begin to prepare physically and mentally for them. Note that college applications are expensive. They range around from $60 to $95. So make sure to ask your high school counselor for a fee waiver, because once you get it, you wouldn't have to pay the fee for actually applying to the school. You can start finding a way to get some of the materials I mentioned on the previous slides. You can ask your counselor, your parents even, but start gathering those documents because you'll have to start filling them out and including them in your application. By November, you can begin working with your counselor on your college applications. So you can get fee waivers, recommendation letters, you can start preparing transcripts and getting registered for those placement tests for your test scores. Begin searching for scholarships, work on your high school resume, and that's basically your regular resume, but mainly focused on your high school career. Some colleges will require you to add this to your application just to see your extracurriculars outside of school, as well as any skills you already have. It's not required for all colleges, but some colleges will ask for it. Also, make sure that you asked all your teachers, staff, whomever you wanted a recommendation letter from to get started on them, or at least let them be aware of it. Make sure to tell them the deadline of your application so you can actually get it back on time. If you tell them early enough, then you can get your letter early too. So you can just add it to your application and then go ahead and submit. By December, you should start finalizing and submitting your applications. Be aware of all of the deadlines, especially the type of application you're submitting, and I'll explain what that means. Continue to search for scholarship and finish off the semester with good grades, because colleges will eventually see those grades, even though by that point you're submitting a little bit more than half of your high school transcript because you didn't finish your senior year. So in January, February, and March, by January, make sure to communicate with your counselor to send all your final transcripts out to colleges. In February, if you're required to do so, you'll go through another financial aid verification process. If you do it correctly, it'll take like a couple days, but you have to do that only if you're required to. By March and April, acceptance letters will start to come, and then your financial aid award letter will come after that. When you get these letters, compare them to each school and see how much each school is giving you in scholarships, loans, grants, all of that. Ask people if you don't understand what's on your financial aid letter. I'll cover some things that what will be on it, but ask people if you're confused or you don't know what certain things or numbers mean. Afterwards, research the college campus, campus life, the dorms, the city life, whatever, just to help you get a final idea of where you're going to be in August. And so by May 1st, that's National Decision Day, and that's where you tell the world what school you're going to in August. So far, all the information I shared is something that colleges will also share with you. This will be through various emails from various schools, so it's ideal to have an organized space where all this information can go. 99.9% of the time, the colleges will contact you through email and not mail, so it's important to have a working email. It's also important that whatever email you do use, for it to not be your school email, because once you graduate, that school email will and should deactivate, so you won't receive any of the emails the colleges send you, and they will still send you emails after you graduate the school. So we're about to move on to the next section. Does anybody have any questions over what I just covered? So the next activity is an icebreaker. I don't know if it will work, but what do you guys want to study in college? And if you are in college, what are you studying now? I'm studying aerospace engineering. So
I'm
I'm currently studying. Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm studying web applications.
Web applications. Let's see. Let's check this chat. Mariana says she wants to study psychology. And then Brianna says that she wants to study, or it might be studying computer science. I'm also studying computer science. So awesome. I'm studying sociology, says Michaela, and a minor of juvenile and law. Aaliyah says design and tech minor in accounting. Okay, nice.
I'm
So-
majoring in mathematical engineering and minoring in accounting.
what are you majoring in again?
Mathematical engineering.
Mathematical engineering? That sounds that sounds fun. So before you apply to college, you need to know how you're going to apply. There are 4 different types of applications. So the first one is early decision. When you apply early decision, you make the choice of going to that college's applied ED, that's what it's called, or which is called committing or binding contract. You have to go to that school regardless of your other acceptances from other schools. There are 2 types of early decision applications. With ED in general, you have to submit your application really early. For ED1, you have to submit early November, but for ED2, it varies on the school, but it's mostly around late November. For ED1, you'll receive your admissions decision by December 15th, which is like a month time span, if you guys know this. And then for ED2, you'll also receive it, well, for ED2, you'll receive it by late February, depends on the school, but you'll receive it in February. If you're going to apply early decision, apply for ED1. Most colleges use ED2 for students who couldn't make the ED1 deadline. And if you do decide to apply ED2, colleges may contact you and ask you why you did instead of like why you applied ED2 instead of ED1. And if you don't have a good reason for why you applied ED2, they might not consider your application and honestly might even reject you because that is considered for people who can make the ED1 deadline, if that makes sense. So apply ED1 instead of 2 if you have to. The early decision application has the smallest pool, therefore it's less competitive. However, you have to weigh in the school's acceptance rate. So if the school has a really low acceptance rate and you're applying ED, you still have a low chance of getting into school. But when you're applying ED, out of the students who are applying ED, that acceptance rate in general and in whole, you have a high chance of getting in. I hope that made sense and wasn't confusing. And if it did, just let me know or something. I'll explain it again. The next type of application is early action. With early action, you can apply early and hear back early, but you don't have to worry about committing to the school if you get in. So you would submit your application around the end of November or mid-December. You'll get your acceptance letter back around February, and the pool is slightly larger than ED, and so it's still a little less competitive, but again, you have to weigh in the school's acceptance rate. Regular decision is the most common application for all schools. You'll apply by the national deadline, which is January 1st, but some schools may change it, their deadline to like the end of December or a couple days after January 1st. You'll hear back your acceptance all the way in May, and it's non-binding, so you don't have to worry about commitment. This is the largest pool, so it's actually very competitive, but again, you have to consider the acceptance rate of the school. But because it's the largest pool, it represents majority of the percentage of the acceptance rate. There's also rolling admissions. So this is kind of a very laid back application. You can submit your application anytime up until the school stops accepting applications. Your decision will come back within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on when you submitted it, and the competitiveness varies on the school. The pros for rolling admissions is that it has a better acceptance rate in general. You can hear back early and you can commit easily. The cons is that the spots fill up quickly because they're accepting students on the spot. And there's also priority deadlines for commitment and benefits like scholarships and aid given to you at the school. I personally recommend early action over regular decision. You get an idea of what campuses you're going to be going to once you get your admissions letter back. And then it's also a better way to start looking for scholarships a little early on, or like after you hear back on your decision because you heard back early. Any questions on that? Because that was kind of a lot. No, okay. So once you start filling out the application, it's a good idea to be aware of what will be in the application. Colleges will be wanting to know about yourself and your family income and finances, grades and test scores, extracurriculars, and any awards you've earned over your high school career, and then other documents that they'll ask for. So colleges will ask about each aspect in depth. So it's important to answer each part correctly and accordingly. Also, each college could have different requirements for the application, so make sure you read their instructions carefully. Colleges could have an essay portion where you could answer their own prompt, or they could have a section where you could submit your own essay or topic of your choice. Sometimes you might have to do both, but regardless of what it is, having the choice to add your own college essay could, again, which is your personal statement, is an advantage because you can show a college admissions committee who you are and why you're different from other students. So I have two pictures here. The girl on the top, she wrote her essay about how language is different inside and outside of her home, and that got her into all the Ivy Leagues. The girl on the bottom, she wrote her essay about Papa John's pizza, which is debatable, but all the Yale officers liked it. So it's always a good idea to have what you want to write about in mind. So your college essay topic could be about anything. Just make sure to write it in a way that describes your best qualities to a college. And so I just found some college topics online that you guys could write about or even expand on. I think, how do you feel about Wednesday, and then the one about like you're the main character in a fictional story or whatever. I think those are good essays to expand on or write about because you're kind of like, you're kind of forced to explain yourself or express yourself, and colleges will look at that. Topics I wrote about was the different life choices I made. I wrote an essay about the qualities of water and how it reflected me as a person. And then a fun one I did was I wrote an essay describing an acronym for my last name. When you're networking with people and you start building connections, a domino effect occurs for the resources and opportunities that can come out of it. Networking in general can result in outcomes that can affect your goals and future, but in the context of applying for colleges, it can be one way to know more about the college, the admission officers, which are the people who are actually looking at your application, the student body, and much more. Networking can and will go a long way. And here are some benefits of just networking in general. It helps assist in achieving professional and academic goals. Your abilities and personal qualities are recognized and recommended by peers. It can help you practice how to engage with others in a meaningful and professional way. And it can also help identify opportunities before they reach the general market. So you can hear about the job before they post an ad about it online. It can also help you get recommendation letters, and recommendation letters can show a lot about you in both positive and negative ways. So make sure you know who you really want to get your letter from and make sure you have a connection with that person. You don't want a recommendation letter from a person you barely talk to like once a month or something, because it's not really going to mean anything. College admission officers can read through that stuff. So getting a recommendation letter can reflect your strengths, interests, and relationships, like I just explained. You can get them from your teachers, counselors, or mentors. Here with the St. Louis Youth Jobs Program, you can get it from your employers, your job coach, program ambassadors. Again, only if you know them like that. You can't get them from your family members because since they're related to you, they're obviously going to speak good about you. And so colleges won't really consider that. So you'll need to submit a high school transcript when you apply to college. This transcript must have all the courses you take in your entire high school career, including any dual credit classes at community college. It should be included on there. But if it's not, you should talk to your counselor. It needs to have the amount of credits that the class is worth, as well as how many credits you actually earned for the class. Your GPA must be on the transcript, but for your class rank, it doesn't really matter because some colleges use it while others don't. And then finally, your grades for each course you took needs to be on there. This just lets colleges know what exactly you need to take again or possibly pass when you come to their campus. So the last thing is your test scores. Like I mentioned earlier, because of the test optional option for some schools, you won't necessarily need to have them for your application. I'll still go over it because those scores are very important for other things. Before standardized test scores, they were used for college admissions, but again, they're still used by some colleges. There are many different tests. The most common ones are the ACT, SAT, and AP exams. Each exam covers something different. ACT covers English, mathematics, reading, and scientific reasoning. SAT covers math and evidence-based reading, and then AP, that depends on the courses, the AP courses you take over the school year. If you get a good or high enough score, it can impact your chances into getting into school, as well as the financial aid and scholarships that you can earn. And I don't think I went over it, but test optional means that you can choose whether or not you want your test scores considered for your application. If you do, you'll have to submit them. And when you submit them, the school will look at your scores and consider those or use those to determine your admission into the school. But if you don't, then there's no need. A college will make clear indication of if they still need it for something else like financial aid or class or whatever. And then I just listed all the max scores of each exam. if you have a high score, you get a lot of money for it. Any questions so far? Because we're about to move on to the next section. No. So would you rather go to your last choice school with the full ride or a dream school with no funding?
Clarification, last choice school being like a school that you were considering but you don't really want to go to, or like last choice school being a school that you think you don't want to go to at all, you've never even considered?
So like, let's say you made a list and you made your like top schools, the very last school you would go to.
This situation actually I'm kind of going through it right now. So I find this question very funny, but actually very relevant. Um, the school I wanted to go to, dream school, but there was no funding. Um, and so kind of in this situation, I chose my dream school. Like at the beginning of the Zoom meeting, and Cozy said, school is an investment. You pay for the experience. And so I ended up choosing going to my dream school with no funding. But not only am I just doing that, I also had to promise myself that I will strive to do any and everything I can to pay for school. As to say, there are many opportunities within school. So my sophomore year, I want to do so well in school that, join clubs and stuff, anything that will lower the cost of school. But, just being a great student that I am. So it's a commitment if you do decide to go to your dream school, and their lack of, but you have to be willing to put in the time and effort. And so, yeah.
Does anybody else want to share?
For me personally, I had a chance where I was potentially going to be going to my last choice school, and that didn't end up going through. But because my list of schools were all schools that like I was okay with going to, and I didn't really have like I had ones that were obviously I would have preferred to have gone to than this one that I was potentially going to go to, but I didn't have any that like I was like I had dreamt of for years or whatever. I was okay with possibly going to my last choice school with more money. And someone in the chat also said that they would go to their last choice school if they had a full ride.
Yeah, I would also go to my last choice school just because my last choice school, it wasn't a bad school, but there's like better schools with better options for career wise, but it would still help me succeed in getting my degree. So the FAFSA, which stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, is a form that many colleges use to determine your eligibility for your financial aid. It opens October 1st, and once you complete it, colleges will see all the information you entered, including your EFC score. Your EFC is your estimated family contribution, which is just an estimate of how much you and your family will pay out of pocket. Colleges use this score to determine how much aid they'll give you to go to their school. The FAFSA is important to complete because it's free money that you're required to receive for school, and this will make the cost of college less overwhelming. Did anybody, or I guess did any seniors last year that's going to college this year, did you guys apply for the FAFSA when it opened up last year? I think it stays open, but it's like the colleges, each college would want you to complete it by a certain deadline. So it's not like it closes. Well, it does close ultimately, but it doesn't close for the longest time. So you have enough time to complete it, but each college would want it by a certain day. So as I mentioned earlier, test scores are one way to earn scholarship. There are different types of scholarships to get without using your test scores. The most common one is academic scholarship. This is based on your grades and what you got in high school. You can either get full tuition or a full ride. There's also the athletic or art scholarship. These are very competitive and they require active participation. So if you play basketball or football or something and you played it for all 4 years, some colleges may scout you to come to their school and then they'll pay you to play for their school while also paying for your education at the school. It's the same way with art scholarships. If you're involved in performing or visual arts, and if there's any other type of arts, colleges will seek out to you and they'll pay you to come perform or study at their school or whatever, but they're really competitive. There's also their community service scholarships. If you have a whole bunch of service hours, you could get some scholarships based on it. I know some colleges offer it. My college did not offer it, and I had like 300 hours plus, but it's whatever. But some schools offer it, and you could get a lot of money out of it. There's also the first generation scholarships. If you're the first person in your family to go to college, then you can get scholarship for being that. And then there's also scholarships by major, just depending on what you're studying in. So these are just the most common scholarships, and they can vary based on literally any factor. I know there's a scholarship for being left-handed, and there's a scholarship for if you have like a sickness or disease or whatever. So there's a lot of scholarships out there if you really just search for it. When applying to different colleges, their main application can be used for their direct scholarships, but sometimes you would have to go to a third-party site or a different school portal to apply for scholarships. So make sure you keep that in mind when you are applying. So your financial aid letter you will receive it once you get after you get your acceptance letter. It will contain a lot of information that would probably seem confusing, but for a general idea, I can break it down. So the things that will be on your award letter would be your cost of attendance. So this for an academic year. So this includes your tuition, room and board, dining and meal plan, books, course materials, and then personal expenses. Personal expenses are just other things that will cost money when you're actually transitioning to college. Colleges consider personal expenses as gas, travel costs, dorm supplies, college supplies, etc. And it's actually good that they have it on there because when you're literally transitioning to college, it's gonna cost a lot. You're gonna be buying a whole bunch of things you didn't know you're gonna be buying, and ultimately it will add up. And you do have to consider that when you're applying and going to school. So that's what that is. Grants, that's another thing that's going to be on your award letter. Grants are a form of aid that is granted or gifted, but like I say, they're required to give it to you based on your financial needs or other factors. Grants are designed to help with tuition and typically don't need to be paid back. For example, my school, they gave all the students a COVID relief grant back in 2021. And we were basically required to get that because we had to deal with paying for school. And then we were also in kind of like a pandemic situation. So we didn't have to pay it back. So that's what grants are for. And grants are really good. There's going to be scholarships, like I just talked about. All scholarships that the school awards you will be out there, as well as scholarships you receive from outside third partner sites. Those other third party places, once you apply and get the scholarship there, based on the school you told them that you were going to, they'll tell the school that, hey, this person earned this scholarship from us, and then the school will add it to your financial aid award letter. So you don't have to worry about scholarships missing on your award letter or something. There's going to be loans on there if you're awarded any money. Loans are money that you'll be granted, but you will have to pay back with some interest. There are two types. There's subsidized and unsubsidized. So subsidized loans, it's interest, which is paid by the education department of the US or something, while you're enrolled at least half the time in the college or until you graduate or are out of school. You can make payments to this loan with no interest involved. So if you are awarded this loan in August, you can make payments to it, but they won't charge you for interest because someone else is paying for that. But once you get out of school, that's when you have to start paying for interest. So that's subsidized loan. Unsubsidized loans, they're kind of the opposite. Interest begins adding up once you're given the loan, and you have to pay it while you're in school. So like if you're in school and you have an unsubsidized loan, then you're gonna get interest while you're in school. No one's gonna be paying for it other than you. I recommend not accepting this if you are awarded it or you see it on your financial aid award letter, because you should be worrying about school and college and your classes. You shouldn't be worrying about paying for the interest. Let the government do that. And then if it's on there, you might see and you might not, but a work study is a part-time job you would have during your semester or maybe the entire school year. Usually for the work studies, it pays minimum wage. I guess it's supposed to, I don't know, but all your paychecks, the money earned from your work study would go towards your cost of school. And I think some of them will allow you to keep it in your pocket for extra money or something. So that's what will typically be on your financial award letter. Also, your financial award letter, they're not final. So whatever is on there, it's not saying this is what you get and you can't change your mind. It's just showing you what you have to pay and what can help you pay. Like I said, you don't have to accept any of the loans. I don't know why you wouldn't accept the scholarships, but you don't have to accept the scholarships. You don't have to accept the grants. It's just showing you things that can help you pay for your cost that you were awarded. So it's never too late or too early to start saving for college. The sooner you start, the more time you have for your money to grow. If you actually have a bank account with St. Louis Youth Jobs, you can have half of your money go into your savings, which will help earn interest on whatever is saved in there, and then the other half direct deposit into whatever account you connected it with. Every dollar counts towards your education, especially if you're saving it. When you're saving more money, it's less money that you'll ultimately have to borrow. And so I saw this quote online and I thought it was pretty cool. It said, "Saved money pays interest while borrowed money generates it." And that is very true, because if you're using borrowed money, you have to pay for the interest at some point. Here are some just like numbers I found online for college. So the average public 4-year tuition for Missouri is $9,453. And when I mean 4-year, I mean we're not just 4 years. When I mean that, the tuition for one academic year for a 4-year education. So the average cost for one academic year is $9,453. For a 2-year education in Missouri, it's $5,251. There are 7 states that participate in the Midwest Student Exchange Program, and what that is it's a program that offers Missouri residents discounted tuition for students who want to go to school out of state. So all the schools are listed there: Indiana, Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. So if you're interested in a college in one of these states and they're part of the Midwest Student Exchange Program, you have a chance to get your tuition like cut in half or reduced or even considered for in-state. And it's really helpful because out-of-state tuition is 3 times more than in-state tuition. Missouri A+ program is the largest scholarship for Missouri students. For you to get this, you have to have a 2.5 or higher GPA, a 95% acceptance rate, 50 hours of community service, but you have to attend a 2-year community college, trade school, or a private school that's listed on their website. I have the link for this at the end of the presentation, so I'll just add that to the chat, or one of the ambassadors could. On average, $14,870 is given in scholarship, grants, loans, work studies for all students in the US, not just Missouri. And the most top income colleges in Missouri are WashU, St. Louis University, University of Missouri in Columbia, which is Mizzou, Missouri University of Science and Technology, Missouri State University, Maryville University, University of Missouri St. Louis, which is UMSL, and then Rankin Technical College. Oh, any questions? Because we'll move on to the last section. And so, do you currently feel more ready to submit your application after everything that was shared with you today? So you don't have to say, sorry, there's like lines drawing on my screen. Anyways, does anyone feel more confident for applying for college after everything that was shared? If you want to say out loud or anything.
We got some yeses in the chat.
Okay.
Saying a lot of yeses.
Yeah. And for those of you who have not like started applying for college and stuff, this is the time, like talk with a couple of us that has been through the process, finished the process, just getting started, and kind of get those different gems from each other, because I wish I had this conversation beforehand. You know, ask us a couple things. This is what we're here for. I know we're a little bit over time, but if you're comfortable with staying, I'm fine with staying and answering any questions. And I believe maybe the other people on the chat are as well.
We're over time. I thought it ended at 6:30.
Yeah, it ends at 6:30.
I'm so sorry, y'all. It ends at
okay.
6:30.
Don't worry, I'm almost done. This is the last section. Okay, so it's very possible to graduate early from high school, graduate early from college with little to no debt, or even get a job right out of high school. To achieve something like this, you will want to take advantage of some programs offered to students while they're in high school. These 3 programs specifically can help you navigate your future and provide you with the necessary resources you need to get ahead with your career, whether that's trying to go to college or to get a job. So the UMSL Bridge program, the Bridge program provides various workshops that high school students could benefit from. All programs that the UMSL Bridge program offers is free. There's like 4 programs. One is for adults, and then 2 of them is for high schools, and then the other one is for kids, I think. Students have the opportunity to receive scholarships and dual enrollment courses to transfer over to whatever school. They offer ACT prep and course material on other standardized tests. Students get one-on-one college planning and meetings with their advisors. There's also many different workshops that range from volunteer service to mentoring. To do the program, you must be in 9th or 10th grade. You must have a 2.5 GPA and enrolled or completed algebra. The next program is College Bound. This program teaches students how to learn good study habits, improve academic tools, and prepare for the ACT. Once you're in 12th grade, they'll connect you with a college advising team to help you go to the best fit college and get as many scholarships as you can. They offer assistance in college essays, the FAFSA form, and scholarship search. The program is also free. You have to be in 9th or 10th grade with the 2.5 GPA. And after you get into whatever college you're going to, they'll continue with you through your college career to help you graduate correctly with your degree. And there's College Bound at the STL campus, and then also the Rankin school that I mentioned. The last program is Early College with STLCC. The program ensures that the courses that you take at STLCC are high school credit and will transfer over to whatever four-year college that you'll ultimately apply to. You must be in 11th grade with the 2.0 GPA. The program costs $73 per credit hour. However, some school districts cover half or most of the cost for the program. But if you don't know, you could just ask your counselor or even email the principal to find out. And If it's not offered, if your school doesn't offer it, then there is aid given to students to help pay for the course. Some resources that you can use while you're applying. So when you're trying to search for colleges, you can use the Common App or the Coalition app or Coalition website. It's just a website where you can apply to a whole bunch of colleges at once while also searching for different colleges. There's the Peterson search tool as well as the Big Future search tool and College Bound. If you need money for college, and this, when I mean money for college, I mean like resources to help you get like money for college. There's Scholarship Foundation, they offer scholarships, they offer a scholarship search tool, and then they'll also redirect you to other sources you can use to help find money for college. There's the Department of Higher Education in Missouri. They have scholarships on their page. There's the FAFSA form, obviously. There's FastWeb and Scholarship America. That's a scholarship search tool that you can use to find very large scholarships. If you need help with your college essay or even materials when you're submitting your application, there's the college essay guy, and I recommend him. My English teacher like set our class up with him, and he has free workshops on YouTube, and I guess the way he approaches it is really helpful because it made my essay 10 times better in my opinion. And like I said, it's free and it's on YouTube. So you have to have your teacher register for you. You can't really register yourself, if that makes sense. But I'm sure you can like sneak on one of his YouTube live streams or something. There's also the Scholarship Foundation. They have workshops there. If you go to their website, they'll have a link where you can register for their workshops, and they'll go over mainly your FAFSA, all the tax and income papers you would need to submit for your applications, and maybe, I don't know if they're doing it now, your college essay. For test prep, ACT has some tutoring services online. I would recommend that you ask your teachers if your class has any ACT tutoring group that the school is providing to your guys' students. SAT, they work with College Board, and you can have free study prep and materials to use if you just register on the College Board website with the class you're taking. This goes the same for your AP courses. If there's an AP course that you're taking, you can go to the College Board website and register for the free like study guide materials and things like that. So after you finish the entire college process and you commit to whatever school you're going to, now you have to actually prepare for college. This involves buying a whole new set of college supplies. And I put it in quotations because they're very different from high school supplies. You're not gonna need a pack of loose leaf paper or a box of Kleenex or whatever. You're gonna need like some very expensive things for some of your courses. You're gonna have to navigate university dashboards. It's gonna be very different from Google Classroom. I know when I was transitioning from Google Classroom to Canvas, it was really confusing for me because it's like there's more interface and you have to do a lot of things and it could get really confusing. And you also have to prepare for dorming in the college residence halls and living with someone else, someone you don't know. You're also gonna have to deal with communication with your university counselor and advisors. They are very important because they're gonna be sending you a lot of emails and possibly meetings about what you're going to be doing at the school for the next 4 years, specifically your major, and just helping you adjust to college life. There's also going to be college orientations you have to prepare for, and then obviously registering for courses. Luckily, there's a lot of free resources for this process. And so I just put a couple here. So you guys can look up on YouTube, search up anything you have concerning college in general, your specific college, materials you will need, college life blogs, whatever. You could probably find it on YouTube. On the university page itself, they probably have resources for what you actually need to bring to college and how to register for your orientations or even classes. Other things you can use apps and websites like Rate My Professor, Zeme, and Reddit. I highly recommend Zeme because I found my roommates, friends, all the clubs I wanted to join on there, and then updates for my college, like specifically for my graduating class. And then for Rate My Professors, you can like figure out if you have a good professor or a bad professor, if they assign a whole bunch of homework or whatever. And then same on Reddit. I think it's like r/Reddit. I mean r/college. So finally, my tips and recommendations when you're going through this entire process. Apply early action. It's the best way to apply early and get your application done and out of the way, and you can hear back early while not committing to a school. Have some of your schools be a part of the Midwest exchange program that I mentioned, especially if you're applying out of state. If it's nearby too, you might as well just want to pay for in-state tuition if you are trying to apply out of state. Go to all the college information sessions. They're really helpful. And most of the time, the admissions counselors and officers are going to be there. You can interact with the people who are going to be looking and reviewing and judging your application. And you can ask them whatever you want about the school and even how to make your application better or how to stand out. Inform your teachers about recommendation letters in August or September. If you're trying to ask your favorite teacher to write you a recommendation letter, there's going to be other students asking that teacher, and then that teacher would have a lot of recommendation letters to write. And so you don't want to be like the last person in the long wait list for recommendation letters. So it's good to tell them early so you can get it early, so that you also don't miss your deadline or miss out or something. Join clubs and activities outside of school. Colleges love when you're doing things outside of school. It makes you stand out and look different to them. Finish the FAFSA early, especially if you're applying early action or even early decision. You can't apply to the college early but then submit your FAFSA late. Just get it done and out of the way. Colleges will ultimately need it. Get educated on residential life. You're literally going to be living on campus for at least a year with a stranger. So you need to know what you need to have, what you don't know, what's it like living with somebody else. You guys are kind of downgrading when you're moving to your college dorm because you get your own personal private bedroom and you're moving into a 4x4 with the stranger. So you just get educated on what's going to happen when you move into a dorm. Apply for many book and material scholarships. The materials, the books, the homework site, sometimes even the dashboards, they all cost money and they will all add up. And so it's good to apply for scholarships in general, but when you apply for book and material scholarships, they can go directly towards the things that you have to use in the class. Take dual credit courses over AP courses. When you do this, they both look nice on your high school transcript, your high school resume, whatever. But when you take a dual credit course, you're guaranteed to have that credit transfer over and use it in the 4-year college you're going to, compared to taking an AP course. You can take a dual credit course and get a C- on it, but your credit will still transfer over and the colleges will have to accept that. Compared to an AP course, you can have an A+ in the course itself, but once you take that exam, if you guys remember, the highest score was 5. It's out of 5. So if you get a 4 out of 5, sometimes colleges might look at that and be like, well, they got an A+ in this class, but then a 3 on the exam. We're not going to consider you credit for that. So just go ahead and take the dual credit course instead of the AP course, if that makes sense. Have a list of compared costs for each school. Just have it with you as a daily reminder and just a general idea when you're getting your admissions decisions back. You can start adding all the scholarship loans, grants, whatever you've been awarded, and then subtract that from the total estimated cost. And so by the end of it, you know exactly how much you're going to be paying for each school instead of just frantically trying to do the math at the last minute. Avoid honor society scams. I know some of you guys are receiving those emails that's like from the NSHSS, something like that, and you have to pay to join their honor society. It doesn't really make a difference if you join. You shouldn't be paying for something that is supposed to help you succeed in the college process. Also, it doesn't really add to your admission decision. Some colleges wouldn't even consider you if you were a part of it. They may reject you. They may reject you based on you actually joining that honor society. So save your time and your money. And finally, don't get a job or a work study your first semester or even your first year. You should focus on school, focus on adjusting to college, and focus on your new life before you start trying to get a job. If you have to get a job, then again, get a higher paying job because work study pays minimum wage. So don't waste your time trying to make $9 an hour at whatever when you can make at least 12 somewhere else. And if you have to get that work study, don't work in the dining halls because the kids are messy and nasty and disrespectful, and you don't want to have to deal with any of that. So that is all. Is there any final questions? And I can go back to a certain slide if you guys need it.
I also just want to point out, as a person who is in college, when you all get to college, don't buy them books. Don't do that. Don't buy them books. If you have to, go for it. But look at the internet first. There you will find so many. You're probably gonna find at least a few of the books for the classes that you have to take online for free as a PDF.
Yeah, or even if
Don't
you
buy
can't
them
find
people's
it for
books.
free, there are a lot of times where like you can rent it online for a lot cheaper because the university bookstore usually has the price higher than like on Amazon, or like sometimes you can look on like used books websites like Thrift Books or Abe Books, and they'll have cheaper options. You just got to make sure that like it's the same edition and like it's the book you're looking for. But yeah, if you don't need like an access code or whatever, buy it used, rent it, something like that. Try
Yes,
not to-
Chegg is also a very good alternative as well. They have a lot of books and resources on there. Sometimes even those access code websites like McGraw-Hill are on Chegg. I just want to throw that out. I'm a college graduate and I use Chegg throughout my entire college career.
Yeah.
So don't buy the books.
Chegg is great. I can attest.
Also,
Chegg is
one
great.
of my friends, I mean, it's kind of weird the way they do it, but they go to the library and take pages of the chapters that they need to read. And so they can just read off of that without actually renting the book or whatever. So that's an option if you're trying to do that too.
Don't rip the pages out of the book. Take pictures of the pages. Don't rip the pages out of the book.
Also, this is unrelated to books, but it kind of helped me when making my college decision. YouTube is very helpful. I suggest if you're trying to decide between a college, like college A or college B, or even if you just want to get some more information on your college, you can just look up X college. Like I'm going to Georgia State. I looked up Georgia State University freshman tips, and it told me about what dorms are the best, information about the dining halls. They told me not to buy my books until I get the syllabus. They also talked about the buses, and they even told me some helpful things about like not keeping my phone on me and things like and stuff like that, that the colleges won't be required to tell you, but are helpful tips. Oh, and then also they gave me a dorm tour because my college I couldn't see what the dorms looked like. So yeah.
I made a Google Doc with all the resources and links that I mentioned throughout the entire presentation, but I realized I don't actually have the link to put in the chat. But I think someone will email everyone that document so you have access to all the links. Okay, well, if there isn't any more questions, then I guess you guys are free to go. You're dismissed.
Yeah.
The computer's about to die
And this
anyway,
link,
so.
yeah, and this recording will be shared, and the slides and resources will also be shared with everybody via email.